has had that moment when they just can't figure out why their plants aren't flourishing. So we've got the top mistakes that we are making in our gardens. And I feel like I know what some of them are. Some of them might be surprising. What are we doing wrong?
So the first one is people walk to a garden center or they go to a plant store and they look at something and they're like, wow, that is so pretty, I'm taking it home.
Yes.
You shouldn't take every guy home that's pretty.
Don't do it.
You got to make sure it's the right guy for the right place.
Yes.
Kind of like the right plant for the right place. Often you don't look and do the background check.
Right.
You don't look at that tag. You don't read what its environment that it needs, and then you don't say to yourself, is that the environment I have? So indoor or outdoor plants, sometimes we're putting plants that are in high light into darker apartments down in the basement where that should be a lower light plant. Just putting the wrong plant in the wrong place is really going to result in failure.
Yes.
So before you even go to buy, say to yourself, where do I want plants for? Like, what areas do I need them for? What light do I have?
Yeah.
And then even what ability. You know, select plants that are disease, insect resistant, that I always say have good performance. Those are the ones.
Okay, so like read that label.
Yeah, I
was guilty of that. I wasn't reading it. I thought that's cute. I'm gonna bring it home.
Right.
You got to read that label. That label has all the information you need, like sun, shade, how many hours of sun it needs.
You got it. It's like reading the dating profile if you're a single person. You got to make sure that it's all going to fit within your same criteria. You have a garden criteria, and I always tell people to write that down before they go to a plant store in our garden center.
Okay, so that's one big mistake. What else are we doing wrong?
Next mistake, it all comes down with this guy right here. And this is probably the most important tool when it comes to the garden. And it's not just this applicator, it's water.
Yes.
Water is so important, whether it's indoors or outdoors, making sure that you're putting enough and also making sure you're not putting too much. Particularly indoors, people usually see a plant that looks like it's dying and they say, hey, I just need more water.
Yeah.
So imagine you're drowning and somebody just says, hey, I need more water.
Yeah, it's not gonna help.
It's not gonna help.
No.
So what often plants want to do is dry out in between waterings. That'll strengthen the roots. And then when you're watering as well, if you're watering outdoors, water deeply. Putting water deep into the surface, almost soaking an area. You're doing deep and frequent waterings. That keeps the roots down deep. If you just sprinkle like this, and the water's at the surface, the roots will come to the surface and they'll dry out that much faster.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Get deep.
Yeah, soak. Be a soaker, don't be a sprinkler.
Got it. Okay, soak those roots, and then you can do it less often. What are we doing in terms of soil?
Yes.
Like, what do we need to know about our soil?
So if you want to have a happy top, focus on your bottom.
This is a rule for life, really.
These are life lessons in gardening.
These are life lessons.
Right?
Focus on your bottom.
You got it. So the bottom is the foundation. You know, you build a house and you're going to build it on a good foundation.
Yes.
So making sure that you amend the soil so it's rich and full of organic matter, and also knowing small little soil test kits like this are something that you can really figure out what type of soil you have, what's the pH, what do I need to add. But a lot of the times if you just have good organic matter, and what that is compost. So that compost, and even good soil feels good, right? So you touch good soil, and if you put it in your hand, it'll clump, but it will also break down. It almost smells good too.
Yeah.
If you have soil that you put in your hand and it just filters all the way through, that's sand. If you put it in your hand and you can make a cylinder out of it, that's clay.
Right.
We want a soil that has an ability to absorb moisture and also dry out. And then with containers, you want to make sure you get a soil formulated for containers. Sometimes people go, I'm going to get that bag of soil, it's $1, garden soil, and it's just too heavy, too wet, and it's just going to kill your plants.
Okay, so make sure you're getting the right soil, make sure your soil, you know your soil, so you know what can actually grow in it. When it comes to pruning, are we doing it enough? Are we doing it the wrong way? Because it's a mistake we're making, isn't it?
So pruning depends on the shrub, but it's like, you know, your hair with split ends.
Yeah.
So I'm relating this all the way down.
It.
You got to cut it. And a lot of the times what you have to do is prune after bloom. That's the key. When you're pruning as well, don't lop the top, because all of a sudden you're just going to have more branches in the bottom. You want to cut out some of those center branches. So when you're pruning, you're thinking about airflow, you're thinking about light, and you're pruning after bloom so that you can stimulate more flowers for future years.
Listen, Frankie is always taking your questions, and I know the same ones come up again and again, but send them in. You can tweet us, you can email, whatever it is. Great advice.